This farmer spots at a single glance that the colt about to be sold for dirt cheap right before his eyes is a rare, once-in-a-lifetime steed, prompting him to quickly place a bid.
1 guinea.
He originally thinks he can seize the opportunity to score a bargain, but in the very next second, another voice echoes from outside the ring.
Any advance on 1 guinea? Any advance on 1 guinea?
The one raising the bid is none other than Ted's arch-enemy. Lyons is a well-known landlord in these parts who neither knows how to judge a horse nor lacks a fine steed at all, making it blatantly obvious that he is doing this solely to humiliate Ted. The neighbors hastily urge Ted to back down, reminding him that they all rely on the landlord's estate to put food on the table, and when it comes to wealth, he stands absolutely no chance in a competition. But Ted simply cannot swallow his pride.
7 guineas, sir!
The moment these words are spoken, both sides instantly find themselves riding a tiger with no way to back down. For a single horse, this is already an astronomical price. Lyons' son also advises him to stop competing, yet unexpectedly, Lyons still jacks the price up to 25 guineas. Ted could completely back out right here and let Lyons suffer the consequences of his own actions, however. With a face full of pride, Ted bellows out a figure that shocks the entire crowd, as if winning the colt means winning the whole world, completely oblivious to the fact that he has already fallen into a trap just to show off for a fleeting moment. For Lyons, this is merely an inconsequential game that does not hurt him in the slightest. And the exact moment the gavel falls to seal the deal, Ted finally realizes that he has completely bankrupted himself. Compared to the dedicated plow horse nearby that costs only 2 guineas and stands several times taller, this colt is practically worthless. Before parting ways, Lyons does not forget to come over and mock him.
You're a fool, Ted. And now Rosie will never forgive you.
His wife Rose, who has been busy at home all day, feels as though the sky is collapsing the instant she sees her husband use their entire life savings to buy a colt that cannot even plow a field. Because even she can tell that no matter how beautiful this colt is, it is only worth 10 guineas at most, meaning her husband should immediately go back and beg on his knees for a refund. But now that things have come to this, they have no alternative choice but to train the colt to plow the land. However, their son Albert absolutely adores the colt, guaranteeing that he will personally teach it how to plow. Left with no choice, Rose grants him a 1-month deadline, decreeing that if the horse still cannot plow by then, she will personally take it to the market to sell it off. Consequently, in the very next second, Ted mentions again that he only did this because he was feuding with Lyons. This drives Rose into utter despair, as it is no longer just a matter of money now.
We're gonna lose everything. After all we've been through, we're gonna lose it all.
Even the family goose looks like it cannot stand the sight of this, acting as if Ted is the sole reason its food bowl is missing a piece of green tonight. In fact, merely squawking at him does not even fully vent its frustration. Soon enough, Albert begins training the colt, but the process turns out to be far more arduous than he imagined. Although this colt is not large in size, its temperament is incredibly wild, leaving Albert completely unable to get anywhere near it. So he gets a clever idea, turning his back around while slowly sliding the feed bucket toward the colt.
I bet you're missing your mother. First time without your mum. You're not alone, are you?
Under Albert's personal soothing, the colt unexpectedly calms down for real. But then again, it might just be completely starved. Albert names the colt Joey, and from that moment onward, he is his horse. Rose takes all of this in with her own eyes. Albert does not break his promise, continuing to put Joey through special training every single day between that vast blue sky and the green pasture. And miraculously, Joey seems as though he can truly understand human speech. Whether it is a command to halt or to follow, even if Joey cannot comprehend it at first, the moment Albert gently whispers an instruction into his ear, Joey catches on very quickly, his eyes appearing incredibly deep. Consequently, no matter where they are after that, the instant he hears this whistle, Joey rushes straight to Albert's side. They become practically inseparable. Sometimes, Albert plays pranks on Joey as well. Hearing the whistle, Joey gallops over from afar, only to find absolutely nothing there. And it is only when he raises his head that he spots Albert hiding high up in a tree. And the one who equally keeps his word is Lyons. Every single time he collects rent, he brings a whole posse along with him. According to the contract, Lyons is completely within his rights to reclaim the land today. And he even remarks that if Ted drank a little less alcohol or bought one less horse, he would not be in a position where he cannot even afford the rent. Clearly, Lyons is still holding a grudge over the whole Joey situation. Ted claims that they will cultivate the wasteland to plant turnips, arguing that if they are granted an extension until the autumn harvest, they can pay off the rent completely with interest.
How are you gonna plow it? Not with that fancy animal of yours.
He'll do it.
You'll not get that one in a harness, let alone pulling a plow, even drunk on a Tuesday night, you know that, and I can't wait for the money. There's a war coming.
Unexpectedly, Ted stands straight up after hearing this, firmly declaring that he will definitely use Joey to plow the wasteland. Even under these circumstances, he still insists on stubborn competition with Lyons, causing the atmosphere to drop to a freezing point instantly. Ultimately, only because of Rose's desperate pleading does Lyons reluctantly agree to the terms. But if they fail to deliver by then, he will take Joey away, reclaim the land, and find another tenant who does not throw drunken tantrums or act entirely arrogant to hand the land over for free. Albert's entire family is under someone else's thumb, leaving them with no choice but to suffer the insults in dead silence. In the end, it is the family goose that vents some frustration on behalf of the household. Unable to get over his anger, Ted quickly gets roaring drunk once again. Stumbling into the stable completely intoxicated, he immediately demands that Joey be fitted with a harness to go plow the field. But it is glaringly obvious that Joey is no plow horse, and he is not willing to step into the field at all. In the ensuing chaos, Ted accidentally gets knocked down. Already fuming, Ted grows even more agitated, going so far as to pull out a shotgun and load it with ammo on the spot. Albert rushes forward immediately to intervene and stop him. Only under the combined persuasion of Albert and Rose does Ted finally simmer down. He very nearly commits a catastrophic mistake once again. Anger and impulsiveness truly have the power to destroy absolutely everything sometimes. Joey witnesses all of this with his own eyes. The next day, Albert comes to the stable, and even though he is highly reluctant himself, the cold, hard fact remains that Joey must learn to plow the field today. However, they hit a snag right at the very first step, as Joey cannot even manage to put on the harness. Albert has no choice but to slip the harness over his own head first to demonstrate that there is no danger, only then prompting Joey to become submissive. They arrive at the wasteland together, and the scene before them leaves Albert utterly devastated, with massive patches of weeds and stones making it resemble a stone garden rather than a plot of uncultivated land. With just one man and one horse, this is an almost impossible task to pull off, let alone for a small colt like Joey. Lyons also rolls up in his latest model car to watch the spectacle, as he has no intention of passing up such a golden opportunity. Lyons laments that it is a case of like father, like son, commenting that Ted and his son are both hopelessly brainless. These words from Lyons go far beyond mere mockery, escalating into a flat-out, naked insult. Having wasted half his life away, Ted no longer possesses a shred of energy left to fight back. But Albert is different, slipping the plow over his own head as well to show that he and Joey are in this together, believing that as long as they plow this land properly, they can prove themselves and slap Lyons right in the face. Yet no matter how much Albert calls out, Joey fails to grasp the meaning, standing frozen in place without moving an inch. Left with no alternative, Albert picks up a whip and gives him a gentle flick. Unexpectedly, this sudden shock terrifies Joey, causing him to bolt instantly like a startled bird. Albert gets dragged several meters away on the spot. Lyons is thoroughly amused, bursting into hysterical laughter. To make matters worse, the townspeople all rush over to watch the spectacle. Albert's situation becomes incredibly awkward. Unable to bear the sight, Rose hides inside her room, attempting to escape this entire nightmare by knitting a sweater. Those undulating ridges and folds in the fabric are tightly intertwined with the harsh, cruel reality. Unfortunately, Rose cannot personally head into the field to help, just as Albert cannot easily plow this entire wasteland. Joey spins around like a headless fly, with the plow never penetrating a single inch into the ground. Some people in the crowd cheer for him, but the vast majority offer nothing but endless mockery. Regrettably, in the very next second, both Joey and Albert crash heavily to the ground together. They stand absolutely zero chance of succeeding.
He'll not turn over half an acre. Give it up now. You've done well. You've tried hard. You're more than a man than your father.
Come on now, Mr. Lyons. It's a bit rough, isn't it?
Well, he'll destroy that horse.
It feels as though even the heavens are moved to tears for them. A torrential downpour finally disperses the onlookers, while simultaneously dousing the very last shred of hope for Albert's family. But Albert refuses to throw in the towel, astutely noticing that the rainwater has softened the originally solid ground, making it moist. So he rushes straight to Joey's ear immediately. Incredibly, they actually manage to pull it off for real. The plow buries itself deep into the ground as fertile soil comes churning up, and even those intimidating-looking stones turn out to be heavily weathered long ago, shattering at the slightest touch. The townspeople come flocking back one after another. With his scheme thwarted, Lyons feels he has lost face, prompting him to start rambling and grumbling endlessly again. But Rose is nowhere near as weak as Ted, loudly cheering her son on with everything she has. In the midst of that violent storm, Albert and Joey collectively pull off a miracle. Ted never imagined that his son's spirit could be this unyielding and resilient. By the time the sunlight pierces through the clouds once more, the stone garden is long gone, replaced by a plowed field cultivated with pure sweat. Rose, feeling deep heartache, wipes Albert's wounds with rubbing alcohol. But Albert absolutely detests the smell of alcohol, since it always reminds him of his worthless, alcoholic father. Unexpectedly, upon hearing this, Rose pulls an old parcel out from a corner, which contains various medals of honor of all shapes and sizes. It turns out Ted used to be a member of the Army's Cavalry Regiment, who won numerous accolades on the battlefield and even saved many of his comrades, which is why he also knows how to distinguish a fine horse. But after that, he suffered from severe war syndrome, throwing away all his honors upon returning home and relying on heavy drinking to numb himself all day long. Rose was the one who retrieved these medals from the trash can, carefully preserving them to this day. Clutching that cavalry regiment banner, Albert secretly vows that one day he will return this honor to his father. Yet, he does not realize the sheer cruelty of war in the slightest, because the painful memories brought by that injured leg are still ripping through Ted's nerves to this very day. After some time, the turnips in the plowed field have already begun to take shape. Joey has also grown quite a bit, capable of carrying Albert to gallop to his heart's content. As luck would have it, they run right into Lyon's son, David, who is currently out for a drive with a girl. The already handsome Albert, paired with the majestic steed beneath him, instantly steals David's thunder, along with the girl's entire gaze. To make matters worse, David realizes that no matter how much he accelerates, he cannot compete with those 4 powerful hooves. However, before he can look cool for even 2 minutes, Albert gets thrown straight off the horse in the very next second. Confronted with a high stone wall, Joey has not yet learned how to leap over it. The girl is startled big time, and David cannot help but gloat over his misfortune. Joey's presence gradually brings a turning point to Albert's life, making him feel that the Lyons family is nothing special after all. But yet another sudden rainstorm strikes, and this downpour is exceptionally heavy, washing away his family's previous hopes entirely. Not a single turnip is spared, with every last one of them dying off completely, and soon the day to pay rent arrives. Ted once firmly believed that the misfortune the heavens deal to everyone is equal, but now he no longer thinks this way, because he has encountered far too much bad luck himself. It is on this exact day that World War I breaks out. When the clock strikes 6, Britain will officially declare war on Germany. Only when the war comes to an end will the bells toll once again. Albert wants to break this news to Joey, only to find the stable long empty, with only his silent mother left at home. Albert seems to realize something, rushing toward the market like a madman, but he is still a step too late. Joey has already been sold by his father to a captain. Albert begs through his tears that this is his horse, claiming he can work to earn money, and that Joey only listens to him, meaning he will definitely perform poorly if sent to the battlefield. If that is not an option, he is even willing to enlist in the military, just to go along with him. Unfortunately, Albert has not yet reached the required age.
I promise you man to man that I'll look after him as closely as you've done. I'll respect him and all the care that you've taken with him.
Captain Nichols' gentle and sincere words soothe Albert's frantic heart. Facing separation for the very first time turns out to be this brutal. Before the army departs, people flock to the streets to cheer and see them off. Among them are reluctant parents, lovers who were deeply in love just yesterday, and even more young people eager to achieve military glory for their country. Albert alone comes to Joey's side once more. Albert hangs his father's cavalry regiment banner onto Joey. They say their goodbyes at the crossroads of their lives, and the one who is reluctant to part is by no means just Albert. Coincidentally, Joey happens to be drafted into the cavalry regiment as well, where fine horses from all over the country are gathered. Joey is tethered together with a magnificent black horse named Topthorn. Topthorn is Major Stuart's mount. Stuart states that if it were not for the war, he originally planned to pursue a doctorate. Every so often, the cavalry regiment conducts pre-battle drills, with soldiers mounting their horses, forming a straight line, and then charging forward with roaring battle cries. The charge that forms as a result will undoubtedly strike terror into the hearts of the enemy. In the past, it was always Stuart and Topthorn who clinched first place. Unexpectedly this time, as a newcomer, Joey carries Nichols to score a victory on his very first try. Without a doubt, Joey is a rare and exceptional steed, and he takes a real liking to Topthorn. Just like that, the army advances toward the front lines bit by bit. The day before heading into battle, Nichols goes out of his way to sketch a portrait of Joey, intending to mail it to Albert so he knows that Joey is not only doing perfectly fine in the unit, but is also performing remarkably well. Following that, he ties that banner tightly onto Joey's back once again. Because the unit is about to execute an assault mission, and the German forces outnumber them 2-1, meaning this expedition is fraught with grim prospects. Nichols has a premonition that he might very well never return, and his promise will go unfulfilled. But this banner might just help Albert track Joey down. Their tactics are highly successful. By the time the German forces feel the earth tremble and death closing in, it is already too late. Some people are even just getting up to wash up. Watching the cavalry charging straight toward them, the German soldiers flee in panic one after another. However, how can two legs ever outrun four? And those who leave their backs exposed to the enemy are destined to fall. The straight-line killing formation practiced countless times is completely airtight, and once deployed, no one can turn back, including themselves. The battle is decided, and they are bound to secure a massive victory. Seeing this, Stuart hastily presses the advantage to pursue, completely oblivious to the deadly trap already lurking within the woods. The lethal tongues of fire from Maxim machine guns are waiting for them. Times change quietly, and the cavalry meets its final curtain call. Beyond that line of life and death, only their war horses are seen, but not their masters. Just like that, Joey does not run very far. The cavalrymen lucky enough to survive are all taken prisoner along with the war horses, while the others will sleep here forever. Fortunately, Topthorn survives as well, spotting Joey from afar and then charging fiercely toward him. The commander wants to eliminate all these enemy horses on the spot, but a young volunteer named Gunther suggests that they can still be used to transport supplies, and as it happens, he knows how to train horses himself. Yet, no matter how hard Gunther and his brother try, Topthorn is unwilling to put on the harness. Unexpectedly, Joey rushes over at this moment, voluntarily lowering his head to indicate there is no danger, only then prompting Topthorn to stop resisting. Joey shifts his body slightly. Gunther notices the banner on the saddle, sensing that this belongs to Joey's master, and then tucks it into his pocket. And by the time Albert receives that letter, it is accompanied by the news of Nichols losing his life in battle. Yet that banner is not mailed back. Joey's fate remains unknown. A notion begins to sprout deep within Albert's heart. Rose is deeply worried. The battlefield is always unpredictable, and the German forces are soon about to advance to the front lines. Because Gunther knows how to train horses, he is permitted to stay in the rear. He also wants to bring his younger brother Michael along, but is ruthlessly rejected by the commander. Military orders are as solid as a mountain, leaving absolutely no room for negotiation. Michael, however, is quite thrilled that he can head into battle to take out the enemy. But Gunther is incredibly clear-headed, knowing the front line is no different from a living hell, and his brother will certainly never return. Yet Michael still remains obstinate, his head filled with those illusions about heroic scenarios. Suddenly, Gunther pulls that banner out of his pocket, conceiving a bold idea. Amid the column departing at dawn, Gunther brings Joey and Topthorn along, snatching his brother straight onto a horse. Since manpower is currently tight at the front, Gunther deduces that the commander will definitely have no time to bother with two fresh recruits, so they keep running until broad daylight and hide inside an abandoned barn. Michael feels a bit frightened, yet equally longs to return to his hometown, imagining the delicious meals at home and his mother's warm embrace. It is just that they are utterly exhausted, and by the time they open their eyes again, darkness has fallen, and the commander has tracked them down. Desertion is an act absolutely forbidden on the battlefield, even though Michael's age means he is not supposed to be a soldier in the first place. The next day, when a girl named Emily comes to the barn, she is astonished to discover that they unexpectedly have 2 extra horses. Emily and her grandfather rely on each other to survive in these mountains, living a peaceful life removed from worldly conflicts by diligently making jam. And the appearance of Joey and Topthorn undoubtedly adds vibrant new colors to Emily's life. Emily gives them names. However, grandfather does not allow Emily to ride the horses, as Emily has been frail and sickly since childhood, with bones so brittle they could snap from the slightest fall, and she must take medicine every single day. They decide to adopt these 2 horses. Afterwards, whenever Emily has time, she trains Joey to perform all sorts of movements. But more often than not, Joey only cares about the carrots in Emily's hands, and grandfather watches his granddaughter's happy smile from the side. Their life is supposed to go on like this, remaining peaceful and stable forever. But on this day, military engines shatter the silence. Grandfather hastily tells Emily to hide the horses well. Without any greeting or politeness, the soldiers declare they are requisitioning grain for the front lines, taking away every single crop in the fields. Then they march into the house to rummage through drawers and cabinets, with none of the jam spared and not even the cooking pots left behind. Before departing, the commander even leaves behind an utterly arrogant remark. The good news is that Emily hides Joey and Topthorn inside a room, escaping the ordeal. The bad news is that the fruits of their year-long labor are wiped out completely. Emily reproaches her grandfather for his weakness, pointing out that he did not dare utter a single peep even when her parents were eliminated by the German forces. Yet the young Emily does not understand that courage comes in many different forms. Her parents fighting against misfortune is courage. The soldiers charging on the front lines is courage. But grandfather's courage is the courage of a homing pigeon. A homing pigeon knows the way home, but to truly fly back, it must endure and cross the entire battlefield. Knowing full well there is so much agony and dread below, they cannot look down, keeping on flying just like that until they return to their homeland. Now, what grandfather protects is Emily's sky, and for this, he is willing to bear everything. In that era of chaotic warfare, perhaps simply staying alive is the bravest thing of all. Time flies, and soon it is Emily's birthday, for which grandfather goes out of his way to prepare a special gift for her. However, grandfather has actually been preparing this gift for many years already. When Emily opens it to take a look, it turns out to be a saddle. Grandfather finally fulfills Emily's wish, as she has long wanted to ride Joey and gallop across this land. Grandfather hastily tells his granddaughter to slow down, but there is no way Emily can contain herself, riding off a great distance all at once. He originally thinks Emily will return after riding just 1 lap, but grandfather waits for a long time without hearing any sound, and instead, Topthorn breaks free from grandfather first to chase after her. And it is only when grandfather climbs over the hillside that he discovers they have actually returned, with Emily being toyed with like a toy. Grandfather immediately rushes forward, shouting to stop the soldiers.
You're breaking my granddaughter's heart. Please, take the bigger one and leave the smaller one.
The war is taking everything from everyone.
Just as the commander said, war takes away everything, and no one can be an exception. Emily's fragile heart is also completely shattered by the war. Joey and Topthorn are assigned to Private Hengelman. Hengelman marvels at what a magnificent pair of sleek-coated steeds they are, but soon a wave of sorrow rises deep within his heart again, because the ash-dead horses nearby were also very beautiful at the beginning, while even more horses have already become lifeless bodies amidst the cannon fodder. Hengelman looks up to see that the army's artillery is incredibly heavy, with wheels standing nearly as tall as a man, requiring 6 horses to exert their strength simultaneously just to barely trudge up the steep hillside. Soon, the lead horse can no longer bear the strain and collapses to the ground in agony. Yet the commander does not hesitate for a single second. Following that, it is the next horse's turn to step up and take over the relay. Receiving the order, Hengelman leads one over, but the commander specifically demands the towering Topthorn. This is no different from a death sentence, because the lead horses are almost all worked to death from sheer exhaustion. Military orders are as unyielding as a mountain, making even a tiny shred of warmth a luxury on the battlefield. Unexpectedly, Joey suddenly becomes exceptionally worked up at this moment, breaking free from his restraints and rushing forward to display his powerful muscles to the commander. Clearly, he still possesses plenty of strength. Joey gets his wish and takes Topthorn's place, his eyes filled with blood and tears, looking like a final, silent goodbye. Agony beyond description characterizes every single subsequent step, with his heavy, intense panting carrying a hint of a rusty metallic tang. Whether it is the soldiers or the horses, all are turned by war into tools fueled by life itself. Fortunately, Joey is lucky, as the artillery is very close to the hilltop. Without resting for even a moment, the soldiers load the ammunition and fire toward the British positions ahead. And beneath those very trenches, a fresh recruit is trembling in fear. In order to find Joey, Albert enlists in the military and arrives at the front lines. This is the closest they have been since their separation, yet they are still divided by a massive chasm of war and fate. Artillery shells streak over their heads at every single moment, meaning one careless instant could get them blown to pieces. Coincidentally, David is also in the exact same unit as Albert. And David, who joined the army earlier and survived the front lines, is now a low-ranking officer. Hearing that Albert is actually naive enough to look for a horse on the battlefield using a whistle, David mocks that this is no different from searching for a needle in a haystack. And Albert refuses to be outdone, firing back by bringing up the day he and Joey outran his car. The bad blood between their fathers has unconsciously carried over to their generation. Just like this war that seems as though it will never end, it will pinpoint every single crack to spread like wildfire. Before the charge, all the soldiers' valuables are collected into a tin bucket, with only those who survive getting the chance to retrieve them. Albert drops the sketch of Joey drawn by Nichols into it, but soon he takes it back out again, tucking it deeply against his chest.
Listen to your sergeant! If anybody turns back, if any one of our boys comes running towards you, you take this rifle and you shoot them dead. Do you understand?
Do you understand me? Do you understand what I'm telling you, son? You take this rifle, you shoot them dead. Understand?
Albert's close friend Andrew is handed a grim task, where he does not have to charge the enemy lines, but instead needs to aim his rifle straight at the backs of his own comrades. As the bugle call to charge sounds, the soldiers climb out of the trenches one after another, bravely pressing forward into the enemy's bullets. It is just that the vast majority of them lose their lives completely in vain. For the sake of a few meters of ground, countless young souls do not even comprehend what is happening before closing their eyes forever. David's right leg is also unfortunately struck by a bullet, leaving him collapsing into the mud to crawl in agony. Seeing this, Albert does not hesitate for a second, disregarding the mortal peril to drag David behind a piece of cover. Only at this moment does David suddenly wake up to reality, realizing that old grudges and bitter rivalries are all far too ridiculous, because since they have stepped onto the battlefield together, they are brothers in arms, facing a common enemy, and Albert possesses a level of courage and perseverance that he never had. While Albert charges fearlessly across the battlefield, some soldiers secretly retreat back into the trenches, but Andrew does not fire his weapon according to orders. The war does not obliterate his humanity and kindness, prompting him to resolutely decide to step forward and follow in Albert's footsteps. Albert successfully closes in on the enemy's machine gun before tossing a pinpoint-accurate grenade. They finally breach the enemy's defensive line, but as he steps inside the trenches, he finds the place terrifyingly dead silent, with gas masks fitted onto all the corpses, causing a faint sense of dread to rise within Albert's heart. Andrew spots Albert as well. With both he and his best friend surviving, there is absolutely nothing more worth celebrating than this moment. He is just about to foolishly rush forward to greet him, but in the very next second, Albert narrowly escapes with his life, yet he loses his sight as well. Meanwhile, Andrew remains forever trapped within that toxic mist. Also left behind is Topthorn, who can no longer finish this brutal journey paved with blood and fire. No matter how Hengelman and Joey call out, Topthorn still slowly closes his eyes. He can finally rest. Another life comes to a close. Yet on the battlefield, not even a moment for grief is spared for them, with Hengelman being dragged away by others. Joey stands guard over Topthorn's body, unwilling to go anywhere else, feeling that perhaps just waiting quietly like this, until his breathing stops and the end arrives, would not be bad at all. But soon enough, a massive steel beast suddenly emerges, ruthlessly rolling over Topthorn's body. It turns out to be a surprise assault by British tanks. The instinct to survive gets Joey moving once again, with fate pushing him to take action. But there are absolutely no escape routes on all four sides as danger closes in bit by bit. Ultimately, the desire for life triumphs over fear, prompting Joey to unexpectedly leap straight over the tank as his body unleashes an unprecedented surge of power, resembling a final dance of life. Yet, no matter how Joey runs, he cannot break free from it, feeling like a nightmare he cannot wake up from, where gun smoke becomes the very air he breathes, and artillery fire replaces the rhythm of his heartbeat. Every single leap Joey takes is not a dash toward freedom, but a futile crashing within a constantly shrinking iron cage. Those eyes that once mirrored the starry night sky of his hometown now only reflect the pale glow of flare rounds and the decaying wounds of the earth, until the nightmare jolts to an end, and he discovers he is truly ensnared tightly by barbed wire, with the iron barbs slicing deeply into his flesh. Joey trembles violently, his struggling body becoming a microcosm of the entire war. He personally experiences the agony of an entire civilization, yet he can never comprehend the origin of this pain. It is not until dawn the following day that the British forces spot that silhouette amidst the thick fog. It is a dying life, located right in the no man's land at the center of the battlefield. The British soldier Colin gets a sudden whimsical idea, clicking his teeth to create a series of noises, which prompt other soldiers to follow suit. Unexpectedly, this actually draws the attention of the German forces instead, who proceed to offer their own responses, one after another. Amidst this back and forth between both sides, Joey manages to stand up as well. Only then does everyone see clearly that the horse is completely ensnared by barbed wire. Consequently, Colin raises a white flag and slowly steps out of the trench. This is an extremely irrational act, since on such a highly tense battlefield, any slight disturbance could be interpreted as a signal to resume hostilities. Everyone thinks Colin has lost his mind, risking his own life to rescue a horse in this living hell, where every man fends for himself. Only upon walking closer does Colin realize that the horse is tangled up incredibly tightly, but he himself has completely forgotten to bring any tools. At this moment, German soldier Peter arrives here with tools and quickly figures out the fastest solution. However, a single pair of cutters is glaringly insufficient. Consequently, an absolutely unbelievable scene unfolds. On this ruthless battlefield, hostile soldiers from two opposing nations cooperate together in the no man's land at the center of the confrontation, all because of a single horse. It resembles a stroke of absurd black humor, because a mere half an hour later, the flames of war between both sides are about to erupt once again. But at this very moment, the color of their military uniforms completely loses its significance. They are no longer the king's soldiers or the Kaiser's warriors, but merely two individuals who happen to cross paths in hell, obeying a mandate far more ancient than military orders, to save rather than to destroy. The two of them even start cracking jokes with one another. Perhaps if it were not for the war, they are supposed to meet at some other juncture in their lives and go on to become close friends. Peter marvels at what a smart horse Joey is, knowing he is being saved and fully cooperating the entire time. And those powerful limbs are naturally built to run, not to come here and become a war horse. But the question remains as to who gets to keep this horse. The two argue back and forth, finally deciding to have Peter flip a coin to settle it. They wave goodbye just like that. But nobody knows if this is their final conversation. Joey is brought back to the rear lines of the British Army. Colin begs the medical officer to save Joey, but Joey's injuries are far too severe, looking very much like he might have contracted tetanus. And since their medical supplies are already incredibly tight, priority must be given to treating the soldiers. Before long, Joey draws a massive crowd of onlookers, with everyone wanting to catch a glimpse of this war horse that miraculously made it back alive from no man's land. Yet at this moment, Joey no longer possesses a shred of his former spirit, standing frozen in place with his head drooping low, having completely lost all hope in this world. If the future world holds nothing but battlefields, then his homing pigeon has long since fallen from the sky. Watching the officer raise his pistol, Joey does not offer even the slightest bit of resistance. The soldiers glance back in curiosity, wondering where this owl whistle suddenly comes from, until Albert's silhouette gradually comes into view. He heard that someone recovered a war horse from the front lines, and even though his eyes cannot see right now, a voice deep inside his heart keeps telling him that this is highly likely to be Joey. They are reunited after a long separation. But the medical officer maintains that this is a horse of unknown origin, considering Albert is currently just a blind man after all.
He's my horse. I raised him in Devon. Sir, look at his legs. He's got 4 white socks, he's brown all over, and he has a white mark here, like so.
Regrettably, Joey is completely pitch black right now, looking absolutely nothing like the horse Albert is describing. But upon hearing this, Colin doesn't say another word, directly grabbing a nearby bucket of water to start scrubbing the horse's legs. Only then do they realize that it was the thick mud of the battlefield masking Joey's true colors all along. The medical officer finds it hard to believe, going on to personally wipe Joey's forehead clean. Sure enough, a bright white marking reveals itself right there. At this point, absolutely no one questions it anymore. Everyone becomes Albert's eyes, and also feels this heartbeat of something lost and found again. Later on, as the long winter passes, the war finally draws to a close, and the bells of peace begin to toll. The good news is that Albert's eyes regain their sight after undergoing treatment. But the bad news is that the major state's only officers are permitted to take their horses home, otherwise the animal must be put up for auction. Albert shed his blood and risked his life for this country, yet in the end, he does not even possess the qualifications to bring his own horse back home. However, the moment he pushes the door open, his brothers in arms have already been waiting for a long time. Hearing the story of Albert and Joey, they all chip in out of their own pockets to scrape together 29 guineas, which amounts to all of their savings. On the way to the auction block, the commander also hands over the very last guinea from his pocket. It is 30 guineas once again. This scene feels incredibly familiar, mirroring the exact setup of Joey's very first auction. A sharp-eyed trader spots at a single glance that Joey is an exceptional steed. The bidding skyrockets instantly, quickly arriving at 30 guineas once more. Albert simply has no more money left. Unexpectedly at this exact moment,
100 pounds! And sir, if you bid against me, I will sell the coat on my back and bid to 110. And if you bid against me again, I will sell my farm and bid to 1,000.
Upon hearing about Joey, Emily's grandfather actually traveled for 3 straight days just to come here and buy Joey back home. The war stripped the most precious things from everyone's hands, and that includes Emily. Joey was once Emily's absolute favorite horse, and he is now the sole remaining comfort for Emily's grandfather. But Joey is not willing to leave at all, breaking free from the old man and walking straight toward Albert. In Joey's heart, Albert is his one and only true master. Albert personally hands Joey over to the old man. Since they managed to survive the battlefield alive, they are already fortunate enough and can no longer ask for anything more. And the old man seems to suddenly remember something, pulling that very banner out from his pocket. The banner of Albert's father's cavalry regiment, after winding its way through so many hands, unexpectedly makes its way back to Albert, with everything feeling just like a full cosmic loop. Joey's identity constantly shifts between military gear, battlefield spoils, and a triumphant hero, a perspective that brilliantly dissolves the traditional friend or foe opposition of conventional war movies, acting like a fluid vessel for the narrative. His reigns connect both opposing factions on the battlefield, exposing the collective trauma that war GOI inflicts upon every single human being. He is also like a rope of destiny tossed around by a colossal hand named War, held successively in the hands of a British officer, a German soldier, and a French girl. He stands incapable of choosing his own masters, much like the countless individuals of that era who were violently swept up into a grand narrative they could neither comprehend nor control. And the film's conclusion goes far beyond a merely heartwarming reunion. When Joey carries the physical scars of war and memories that transcend opposing camps back to the sunset-gilded Devonshire Valley, what he brings back is a microcosm of the entire European continent. Within his very body, there perhaps linger the sweet scent of British pastures, the wheat grains of French country estates, and the black breadcrumbs of German military camps. He stands as a living, breathing monument, commemorating not a military victory, but all the lives and emotions torn apart by the war. His return symbolizes a form of reconciliation, not a truce between victorious and defeated nations, but a reconciliation of humanity with itself, of reason with nature, and with the deep-seated traumas of the past. At the start of the film, Joey is Albert's private property. By the end of the film, he becomes a shared memory, a spiritual vessel carrying a multitude of diverse stories. Perhaps the true essence of peace is not an ownership that draws hard borders, but a mutual understanding and coexistence rooted in shared memories and collective trauma. Peace is also never the triumph of any single faction on the battlefield. Peace is the helping hand extended collectively by that German soldier and British soldier in the middle of no man's land. It is the courage of that French girl who disregarded prohibitions to safeguard a living being. It is the promise Albert honors, even if it means journeying through literal hell. And even more so, it is the profound reverence for life itself that transcends all boundaries, mirrored in the eyes of Joey, this silent witness to it all.